What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rebored Podcast. Today, we're starting a new series to go along with our MCU retrospective, where we'll be rewriting the movies as they go in order. Except for the first one, we're skipping Iron Man, putting that with Iron Man 2, for mysterious reasons. You might notice John's in the picture today. I feel like being nice, but let it be known, I'm about, 6 inches taller than you? John's 5'6" and I'm 6 foot. So our only rule is that you can't affect anything if it affects future projects greatly or without being able to be changed. So for example, the only thing we can't change in this movie is Abomination and Ross because they appear in greater roles. Future movies, Civil War and She-Hulk respectively, and there's no other Hulk movie where we can change the fate of that.
Or add
outcome.
them in or introduce them as well there.
So they have to stay. Let's get into the rewrite. We're making Incredible Hulk a better movie, fixing its problems, which are pretty much that it's boring and not much happens. And it's not a very good Hulk movie.
First 30 minutes are very boring. Yes. Very, very boring.
It starts slow. So we're fixing that with the opening scene. Well thought out, well planned. This would be a visionary moment of the MCU. You'd open on a rainy night.
Oh wait, but we would keep that opening though, where it's like all the newspapers. At the very beginning.
It's like flashes and he's in a chair and he's like, "What's happening?"
Yeah.
And then he like smacks the shit out of Ross. You just see him like on the ground.
Yeah.
And he's like, "No!" And it's a rainy diner. There's a church, there's a bakery, and there's a dog pound. All these people are closing up as a woman walks into this diner, 50s themed. Neon colors, that type of vibe. And then, anyway, the door's cracked open, and there's a poor worker out there throwing trash away. We don't know who this person sitting yet is. Whether we don't see her face or you just aren't supposed to know, it is what it is. Anyway, some muggers come, some thugs, and they start beating down on this guy outside. The woman in the diner quickly shuts the door on him. You realize this is a crappy part of town, or a crappy town in general. It gets louder. He's telling them to stop as he's getting beat up. We see the perspective in the church. We see the perspective of the bakery. We see the perspective of the pet pound. And then we get closer and closer on this guy getting beat, and then his eyes go green. And boom! Now this movie would be more horror themed when the Hulk is out and about. We really want to play up that he's a scary thing and people would be scared of him. Big green dude, So we're shadows and a big hand.
Rather than just nonstop saying he's a monster throughout the entire movie, we're gonna show he's a monster.
He is a monster. Cardinal rule, John, show not tell. Anyway, and then as the fight is winding down, we realize that the person in the diner is Betty Ross. She's looking for her lost love, the Hulk. Anyway,
I don't think she's looking for the Hulk. I think she's looking
for Bruce. They're all the same though, or are they? That's the question this movie asks, right? Anyway, we get to the next morning and they're like, "What happened? Another Hulk attack?" And they're like, "It's like a big footprint in the ground, or like somebody's head's like straight up in the wall."
No, it's his purple pants.
They're just left there. Always wears purple pants. We get interviews from the other people. We see their perspective. What did the church guy see? What did the dog pound lady see? All that stuff. And then we really get to understand in this opening scene how Hulk is seen by other people before we even meet him. So we really play up, is he a monster? So his character arc will be even better in this movie. Anyway, this gets the military on his back because they are trying to find this monster. Because, they got this branch and they got these heroes they got to rein in, but they also got to rein in the bad guys. And so we got Thunderbolt Ross leading a coalition of army people, including Emil Blonsky, to go and find the Hulk and kill him. And guess what? Betty Ross is also there, as I said previously. And Thunderbolt Ross is not happy about this, is he, John?
He's not happy.
"Why would you do this, Betty?" he says. Take that one, Marvel. That one's for you. Oh, yeah. We also are setting up a couple things in this opening scene. When they're searching the rubble, we have to make a couple things clear. He's broke. This well-famed scientist, Bruce Banner, used to be on the top of the world in gamma radiation science. but now he's broke as hell on the run. Also, he's looking for a man named Mr. Green. This will be important later. Wait, anyway, so now Betty and Thunderbolt are talking. We intercut it with Bruce, and he's like, what have I done? Or whatever. And he's mad that he's the Hulk, so we have to make that clear. We also have to like kind of meet him, because we haven't met him at this point in the movie. But it's still early. We're like 15 minutes, whatever. So we're meeting him, we're understanding the character, blah, blah, blah. Basic stuff. You know how it is.
And for the most part, we are going to keep the Mr. Green storyline as well. Where he wants to cure and stuff later on. But
that's kind of his goal for the first half of this movie. Until we get to the midpoint of the movie, which will be important. We'll get there in a little bit. But anyway, Bruce finds Betty some way, somehow. They meet each other. They have a conversation. We understand their characters. They're like, she's like, F you. He's like, what do you mean? But then it's like, F you, I love you. You know, that type of thing. And then it's like, this is so beautiful, you know? And we're recasting Betty because we need real chemistry, and we can't recast Edward Norton. Also, I think Edward Norton's a pretty good Hulk, so.
Yeah, he actually was.
For what it's worth.
Yeah.
Or Bruce Banner, too. Anyway, but this means, guess what? Emil is tracking him. And this is when we get our big intro to Emil. He's a rule breaker. He's a fiend. He doesn't play by what people tell him to play by. So we're getting this hunt down. Betty's being tracked. Emil secretly is tracking Betty. And then we have this big chase scene where Emil has himself specifically and the rest of the army on his back. But the weird thing is, they're trying to capture Bruce. But Emil seemingly is trying to kill him. No remorse, just pure, unbridled anger and passion. Which, by the way, is a theme, because the Hulk is angry, but guess what? He uses it for good in this movie, whereas we see what anger can do for bad. And so he represents the bad side.
Yeah, Emil just, he is ruthless, whereas the Hulk Bruce does not want to be ruthless.
Right on. Since fucking facts, brother.
Duality there.
Duality of man.
Mm-hmm.
So meaningful. Oh my god. Anyway, so this chase scene brings us into Act 2. We got the army. They lost the army, Bruce and Betty. But they're on their own now, and they're kind of like, it's like, they're fighting, but they're in love. And they're going back and forth. And the Hulk's scared of who he is, and he wants to fix it. Blah, blah, blah. You know how it is. It's like, it's second act stuff, man. It's like, it's the bulk of the movie. So then we cut back to the army, John. And it's Emil, and it's Thunderbolt, Ross.
Yeah.
And he's like, what the hell are you doing out on that field? And he's like, he doesn't really have an accent, but just for sake of storytelling purposes, he's going to be like, I'm doing what is right.
Mm-hmm. And in the chases and stuff, we see that Emil doesn't care if civilians get in the way or whatnot.
Maybe he murders a little girl.
We should just have it where
like the darkest thing.
He's driving a van and the little girl's in the way and he doesn't even swerve. He just presses on the gas.
Goes on the gas. He's like, I'm sorry. No, he doesn't say sorry. He's like, fuck you.
And he just presses on the gas.
Anyway, so we're cutting back to the army trying to find him, and blah, 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 and Betty and Bruce arguing, and she's like, maybe it's part of you, and he's like, no, it's not. And then, what's this? A phone call? Mr. Green, meet me at the College of DuPage. But by the way, this takes place in like New York or something. Or no, wait, yeah, Manhattan's New York. This takes place in Upper New York. Decided right now. Are there caves? Probably. So then we hit the midpoint of the movie. We're at the school. We've made it. He's trying to get a cure, and we meet Mr. Green, who was his lab partner. He's the guy who becomes leader, Big Green Head. Supposedly he's returning, but he's just kind of here now, and he won't die, so we're leaving it open-ended. But anyway, in this part, that's not important. What's important is that he's trying to cure himself. He's strapped in. He's getting injected with needles, and he's like, oh, it hurts. And like his veins are like green, and his eyes are green or whatever. He's like, oh my god. And then, what's that? Smoke bomb. Mustard gas through the window.
Yep.
And he's like, Betty. And she's like, and then he becomes the Hulk. And the Hulk fought through the process. And I guess, you know what? It doesn't matter would it have worked. Who knows? But it doesn't. It makes him angrier. But we aren't going to have that line yet, John. You know the line.
Yeah, I know the line.
Yeah, like-
I know the line.
anyway.
I know the line. I know exactly what you're saving it for too. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, and he's like, whoa, and then this is when you get the reveal. Maybe Mr. Green is in the side, and he's like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, Emil, back to the accent. He's like, he killed my father. Emil just sounds Russian. I feel like I have to.
All right.
It's played by. Are we recasting Tim Roth?
Well, we can keep Tim Roth, but I said another good casting for Game of Thrones fans out there would have been Jaime from Game of Thrones. I think.
So the school action scene happens. He's like, he killed my dad or whatever. But by the way, horror. Remember, gotta keep reminding the audience because they can't see what we're picturing in our heads. But we gotta play up the horror. You know, maybe not a daylight action scene where he's like out on an empty field and like throwing, you know, like a tank car or tank door at him or whatever. You know, just like maybe darker.
We could do a good horror scene where it's like from a soldier's perspective, and it's they ran through the gas to try to get him, and it's
like
from
a
their
mission in Black
perspective.
Ops 2.
You see people flying around this one soldier, and the Hulk on a rampage.
It's like the scene in it's like Saving Private Ryan, kind of. You know, they're out on the beaches.
Yeah.
In
Right.
Normandy, they're like, oh my god, and they're friends.
Yeah, kind of like that, where it's like just so chaotic.
Right, yeah. We get play up the horror.
Yeah.
Is the whole good? You never know. But what we do know is Emil is bad. Anyway, for some reason this dumbass tries to take him like one-on-one and gets murked. Like we were talking like throwing against a tree or like
Which is what happens in
the movie.
but
You know what? Fuck that movie. He gets thrown against a brick wall. My back. And then the Hulk runs away with Betty again, and Thunderbolt's like, no, or he's doing something too this whole time, you know. If we were writing the movie for
No,
real.
he's in the background. He's
Yeah.
with binoculars,
He's
just watching his men get shit on.
Whiskey.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now they're in a cave and it's raining, and the Hulk's sad, and he's like, what have I done? But it's not the Hulk talking. You can just tell in his eyes. And then Betty's like, calm down, and she does a little Black Widow hand thing, you know.
Yeah.
She's like, the sun's getting real low. And then are we keeping in the Hulk and Betty cave sex scene?
Sure, why not?
Of course. So
They have sex.
yeah, he has post-nut clarity, of course. Oh, that's perfect, actually. And he's like, you can't be here. He like gets it now. He's like, you can't be here. And so he sends him off or her off or whatever. She goes back to her dad and she's like, oh my god. And then we get the best scene in the movie. Tries to kill himself. But it's like the scene, like the deleted scene, but like
Just
not
a
in
little
the
changed
Arctic.
up,
Yeah. And like you know, like New York State, not city, New York State, like field with a lot of trees, and he's like, no, and it's like shot through the trees or whatever. It's like the moon's coming down on him, and he's like, and then it just like you see the silhouette go down, and then the man. Anyway, so Emil's almost dead, and he gets up, and he's like, oh, my back. And then he finds a scared...
He gets up after that.
After getting slammed into a wall. His brains are falling out in the back, and he's like, oh. And then he's like, give me his blood, because they were just going to do the transfusion, you know? They're going to stop the Hulk. And he's like, do the opposite. And he's like, I can't, it's not right. But then he forces him to.
That's Dr. Green, by the way.
Yeah, he's like, yeah. Oh, yeah, I have to make sure I do the accents. He's like, do it anyway. And he's like, I can't. He's like, I'll fucking kill your family. I don't know why his accent changes, alright? There's a reason why I'm not playing him. So then he's like, okay, fine. So then he does it. And then he's like, oh my god. And you're like, what's happening? And then you cut back to Hulk after he just tried to kill himself. And he realizes, some way, somehow, maybe he saves a little girl. Maybe he freaking saves a little boy. I don't know. He does a heroic act and he realizes Hulk doesn't have to be the monster.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. This is the end of the second act. And guess what happens at the end of the second act? The beginning of the third act.
Oh my god.
Emil becomes Abomination. And it's big and it's epic and it's scary. And you know what?
Well, actually, it says on that paper jack that was supposed to be at the end of Act 2.
I know, but it's like in between. Like,
Oh,
I was just like segueing. Anyway, so yeah, I kind of liked his design in the movie. He could be a little more green and like have the little floppy ears. But I want the bony back.
I do too. I think it was more menacing.
Yeah, and I want the rib cage popping
Yeah.
out and everything. So cool design. We're keeping that, and he becomes the
Are
Abomination.
we adding those ears though?
Little floppy ears. Yeah.
We're gonna add them.
Yeah. His ears morph. We see it happen.
Okay.
Maybe there's turtle DNA or whatever.
in Bruce.
Yeah. We never know what he's up to. Anyway, and we get the Manhattan fight. The third act would say similar, but we want a couple big beats that aren't in the movie. So anyway, he gets kidnapped, whatever. He's in the helicopter like in the movie. And then Abomination's tearing up Manhattan. Remember, we're near there. So then he's like, people are dying. We want casualties. We want fire. We want...
Oh, by the way, Betty Ross, like, husband/boyfriend storyline was completely cut out of this.
I always forget about that, so yeah. But yeah, he's not in here, not in this cell. And so she's just looking for her long-lost love. And Bruce is in there chained up, you know.
Yeah.
And Thunderbolt Ross is like, maybe you weren't so bad. Or he's like, I miss the old you. Or, you know, some like, father-in-law type stuff, you know. And Betty's like, Dad, I love him.
I don't know if we should give him that much of a character redemption, though, because he's going to come back for Thunderbolts and Civil War.
But understand. Get this? So we're humanizing him. Like, he's not all bad. He just has a job to do. But you can tell that he cares for Bruce as a person. But the Hulk, you know, he's got to do what he's got to do.
He still disagrees with the Hulk.
But we'll see when the end of the movie comes and you see these casualties, you kind of understand where he's coming from in Civil War, where he's like, oh, well, actually, the big thing that happens will motivate his character going forward. Anyway, so he jumps out of the helicopter, and he becomes Hulk, and and then we get the big line. He's like, you're not going to like me when I'm angry. Because he's definitely going to actually say that. And then he does the clap or whatever. Freaking clap with the booty cheeks, too.
Yeah.
Every type of clap.
We have to add a scene where he spanks Abomination.
Of course, just bends him over and like, Hulk, smash!
You've been a bad boy.
And then maybe he saves a person, but people are dying. He gets flung through a building, and like we're gonna show somebody's brains like getting smashed on the side of the wall.
For like every person that the Hulk saves or tries to save, Abomination kills 10.
Damn. Jesus.
Or 3, whatever.
Okay,
whatever.
Fair enough.
Floats your boat.
Okay. That one's fine by me. But then the helicopter. As it's sliding, and then Hulk turns and he realizes it's Betty. She's like, oh my god. And then Abomination like does a little smirk or whatever, and he's like, and he kills her. Oh my god.
Yeah, Betty's dead.
That's where we referenced we haven't seen any future movies as of July 10th, 2023. But yeah, so he gets she dies and Hulk's all angry, and you know, when he's angry he gets like powerful, and so then he defeats Abomination. But Betty is dead. And you know what? Thunderbolt might know that Hulk didn't do it, might not know, but the point is a monster did it. A person with superpowers did it. So now he hates them. So, you know, he got the Civil War set up. But then Hulk saves the day or whatever, and so now he's not a monster, so that's wrapped up, and Betty's dead, so...
And then we have the same post-credit scene as well.
Yes, Tony Stark comes in, and he's like, I'll buy you a drink, or whatever.
To set up Civil War. We gotta keep that.
That's right. Yeah, that's our movie. It's freaking better.
10 times better, I would say.
Of course, yeah.
Would it be PG-13 or would it be R, Jack?
Well, I said a lot of like people
smashing in brains, running over a child.
I just thought about being aggressive. But it'd probably be PG-13 to be honest.
Yeah.
We'd imply he ran over a child. We'd imply it was brains.
Or we could just, this could be the first R-rated Marvel movie. We'll get ahead of them before Deadpool. That's
right. Second Marvel movie. Well, not ever, but second MCU movie. But anyway, yeah, that's the freaking thing. We hope you guys enjoyed our version because
this is the Hulk, not the Thing, Jack.
Oh my god, I can't. I hate this guy. Yeah, tell us what you would do to change that because we know you all want to. The movie is mid as hell.
Everyone has like what they would do for this movie.
Well, we said we liked it a little bit like more than we expected. I think.
Yeah, we did.
But whatever our thoughts were. Our thoughts are this one would be a 5 out of 5. When Betty dies, we'd cry.
Yeah, because we made it, obviously.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, check us out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, all at Rebored Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, share, like, subscribe. Check us out for more. We're coming crazy. We're coming like crazy.
You can't say that, dude.
We're doing more videos, man. Thanks for watching. You gonna say something?
That's good enough. I feel like it's awkward if we both say bye.
Say bye.
Bye.
There we go.